She noticed the switched contract at 11:47 p.m., her gloved hands trembling as she held evidence that could destroy empires or end her life. Maya Chen, a 29-year-old black cleaning woman drowning in debt and fear, had no idea the Korean man in the midnight office, cold-eyed, dangerous, impossibly still, was Ji-hoon Park, heir to Brooklyn's most feared syndicate. One whispered warning. One moment of courage. One decision that would bind her to a world of blood, power, and a protection she never asked for but desperately needed. Because the truth she uncovered wasn't just corporate fraud. It was a web connecting corrupt lawyers, stolen charity funds, and the murder that had shattered Ji-hoon's soul 3 years ago. While I tell you this story, one that will make you feel many emotions, click the subscribe button. It's the only way to support us. And thank you. Maya's sneakers squeaked against the marble floor of Rothstein & Associates at 10:30 p.m., the sound echoing through empty corridors that smelled of expensive cologne and older secrets. She pushed her cleaning cart past offices where lawyers made more in an hour than she earned in a month. Her back ached. Her fingers were raw from bleach. Her phone buzzed with another message from Marcus. I know where you live now. You can't hide forever. 3 years since she'd left him. 3 years of looking over her shoulder. She'd changed her number 4 times. He always found her. The restraining order was just paper. Marcus was flesh and rage and a promise that one day he'd make her pay for leaving. Maya's mother's medical bills sat in her purse like stones, $847 due by Friday, or they'd stop her dialysis treatments. She'd already sold everything worth selling, already worked 3 jobs, the debt collectors called daily. The loan shark she'd borrowed from, a thin man with dead eyes who worked out of a barber shop in Flatbush, had given her until the end of the month. After that, he'd said, smiling without warmth, he'd have to recoup his investment another way. She knew what that meant. Maya sprayed cleaner on a conference table, wiping in careful circles, praying without words the way she'd learned in her grandmother's church. Please, just let me survive this. Just let Mama live. That's when she saw Thomas Rothstein through his office window, the senior partner, the man everyone feared. He wasn't alone. A younger partner, David Brennan, stood across from him, his face red with anger. Maya should have kept walking, should have turned her cart around, but something in Brennan's hand caught the light, a folder, papers spreading across Rothstein's desk. You're going to sign this revised contract, Brennan hissed. The Mercy Foundation donation, all of it, gets rerouted through my accounts. That's charity money, Rothstein said, his voice tired. For orphanages in Seoul, cancer research. I want you to remember who knows about your offshore accounts. Sign it, Thomas. Tonight. Maya's breath caught. She moved her cart backward, slowly, praying the wheels wouldn't squeak. They did. Brennan's head snapped toward the window. His eyes locked on hers. For 3 seconds, the world stopped. Then Maya ran. She abandoned her cart, her coat, her dignity, and fled down the stairwell, her heart a drum against her ribs. Behind her, a door slammed open. Stop her! Maya's legs burned as she took stairs 3 at a time, 12 floors blurring past. She hit the lobby, sprinted through the revolving door into January cold that bit through her uniform. Behind her, footsteps, shouting. She turned down an alley, lungs screaming, and pressed herself against a dumpster, hand over her mouth to silence her breathing. 2 security guards ran past, their radios crackling. Maya waited in the dark, shaking, as snow began to fall. She'd just witnessed something terrible. Something that would cost her everything. Because men like David Brennan didn't leave witnesses. Maya didn't go home that night. She walked until dawn, through neighborhoods that grew rougher with each block, until she found herself outside a 24-hour diner in Koreatown. She ordered coffee she couldn't afford and tried to think. Going to the police meant exposing herself, her expired work visa, her undocumented status, her vulnerability. Staying silent meant watching charity money meant for orphans disappear into a corrupt lawyer's pockets. The thought of those children, faceless, innocent, made her chest hurt. At 6:47 a.m., her phone rang. Unknown number. Miss Johnson, the voice was male, accented, impossibly calm. You witnessed something last night that doesn't concern you. Maya's coffee cup clattered against the saucer. I don't know what you're talking about. You were on the 12th floor at 10:43 p.m. You saw David Brennan threatening Thomas Rothstein. You ran. Her vision tunneled. Who is this? Someone who needs that contract. Mr. Brennan switched. The original documents. Can you get them? I'm a cleaning lady. I can't just... You have a daughter? No, I'm wrong. A mother. Dorothy Johnson, 61, stage 4 kidney disease, currently at Brooklyn Methodist, room 437. Maya stood so fast her chair fell backward. If you touch her... I don't hurt innocent people, Miss Johnson, but David Brennan does. And if you think he's forgotten your face, you're wrong. The line went dead. Maya's hands wouldn't stop shaking. At 11 a.m., she returned to the office building, using her service entrance key, praying her supervisor hadn't fired her yet. The 12th floor was chaos. Police tape, detectives, whispered conversations. A uniformed officer stopped her. No cleaning staff today. What happened? Thomas Rothstein, found dead this morning. Apparent suicide. The world tilted. Maya steadied herself against the wall, bile rising in her throat. Murder, dressed as suicide. She made it to the bathroom before she vomited. That night, the same unknown number called again. Rooftop of your apartment building. 20 minutes. Come alone. I'm not stupid enough to... David Brennan's car is parked across from your building, Miss Johnson. 2 men inside. You have 19 minutes. Maya looked out her window. A black Mercedes. 2 silhouettes. Terror gave her wings. She took the stairs to the roof. Winter wind cutting through her jacket. A man stood by the ledge, his back to her. Tall, lean, wearing a long black coat that moved like water. He turned. Jihoon Park was beautiful in the way winter was beautiful. Sharp, dangerous, impossible to touch without pain. His face was all elegant angles, his eyes dark and depthless. His presence so intense Maya felt it like pressure against her skin. You came, he said. His voice matched his face, cold, controlled, lethal. You threatened my mother. I stated a fact. There's a difference. He moved closer, each step deliberate. David Brennan killed his partner tonight. He'll kill you tomorrow unless you give him what he wants. I don't have anything. You have eyes. A conscience. That's enough to be dangerous. Jihoon stopped 3 feet away, studying her with an intensity that made her feel naked. I've spent 6 months investigating the Mercy Foundation fraud. Thomas Rothstein was going to testify. Now he's dead. And the only witness is a cleaning woman with an abusive ex-boyfriend, a dying mother, and a debt to a loan shark who sells girls when they can't pay. Maya's breath stopped. How do you... I know everything, Miss Johnson. Your visa expired 2 years ago. You're paying for your mother's dialysis with money borrowed from Chan-woo Kim, who'll own you in 3 weeks. Your ex-boyfriend, Marcus Williams, has 5 assault charges and a GPS tracker that says he's been outside your building 17 times this month. Tears burned her eyes. What do you want from me? The truth about what you saw. Testimony. Access to the building. In exchange for what? Jihoon's expression didn't change, but something flickered in his eyes, something ancient and sad. Your life, Miss Johnson, and your mother's, and a chance to stop men like Brennan from stealing from orphans in Seoul. Who are you? Someone who understands what it means to fail the people you love. He held out a card, black with a single phone number embossed in gold. You have until midnight to decide. After that, you're on your own. He walked past her toward the stairwell, his coat billowing behind him. Maya stood alone on the rooftop, the card burning in her palm, and made the only choice she had left. She called the number. The safe house was in Brooklyn Heights, a brownstone that looked modest from the outside but whispered money in every interior detail. Jihoon's men moved Maya's mother there before dawn, a medical team already set up in a bedroom that had been converted into a private hospital room. She'll have 24-hour care, Jihoon said, standing in the hallway while Maya held her mother's hand. The dialysis equipment is better than what the hospital has. Why? Maya whispered. Why would you do this? Because I can. And because you're going to help me destroy David Brennan. Her mother slept, peaceful for the first time in months, while Maya followed Jihoon down to a living room that felt more like a war room. Maps, photos, documents spread across a massive table. The Mercy Foundation was supposed to fund 3 orphanages in Seoul, Jihoon said, his finger tracing a route on one of the maps. Brennan's been diverting 90% of the funds for 3 years. That's $4.7 million stolen from children who've lost everything. How do you know all this? His jaw tightened. Because one of those children was my sister. The words hung in the air like smoke. She died 7 years ago. Car accident, they said. But she died because the orphanage couldn't afford proper medical care after Brennan stole their funding. Maya's throat closed. I'm so sorry. Sorry doesn't bring her back. He turned away, his shoulders rigid. But destroying the people who killed her, that's something I can do. Days blurred together. Maya learned Ji-hoon's routine. Up before dawn, endless phone calls in Korean, meetings with dangerous-looking men who treated him with religious deference. She learned he drank his coffee black and didn't sleep more than 4 hours a night. She learned his organization controlled everything from Flushing to Sunset Park, protection, imports, information. You're the mafia, she said one night, finding him in his office at 2:00 a.m. I prefer entrepreneur with unconventional methods. He didn't look up from his laptop. Can't sleep? My mother asked about you today, wanted to know who the nice Korean man was. What did you tell her? That you're helping us. She said to invite you to church. Ji-hoon's lips twitched, almost a smile. Your mother thinks a man like me belongs in church. She thinks everyone belongs in church. She's wrong. Maya sat across from him, studying his profile in the lamplight, the sharp line of his jaw, the faint scar above his eyebrow, the exhaustion he wore like armor. You could have just paid off my debt, she said quietly. Could have made Brennan disappear. Why involve me? Because you saw him. You're the witness who makes this legal. Without you, I'm just another criminal eliminating competition. And with me, with you, justice gets served with a legal bow on top. He finally looked at her, his eyes unreadable. I'm trying to be a better man, Miss Johnson. My sister would have wanted that. Maya, she said. My name is Maya. Ji-hoon. He held out his hand. She took it. His grip was warm, firm, and the contact sent electricity up her arm that had nothing to do with fear. The next morning, Ji-hoon's second-in-command, a scary man named Min-jun, taught Maya how to use the building security access codes to copy files. You'll go in Friday night, Min-jun said. Brennan will be at a fundraiser. You'll have 40 minutes. What if I'm caught? You won't be. Ji-hoon appeared in the doorway. I'll be with you. Maya's heart kicked. You can't, if you're seen. I've been in worse places. Friday came too fast. Maya wore her cleaning uniform, her ID badge clipped to her collar, while Ji-hoon dressed in a maintenance uniform that made him look dangerously ordinary. They entered through the service entrance at 9:00 a.m., Ji-hoon's presence beside her both terrifying and steadying. 12th floor, he murmured. Brennan's office. You have 23 minutes. They moved through empty hallways, Maya's hands shaking as she unlocked doors, copied files, photographed documents. Ji-hoon stood guard, his body coiled with readiness, his eyes constantly scanning. Got it, Maya whispered, pulling the last file from Brennan's drawer. That's when the elevator dinged. Ji-hoon grabbed her wrist, pulling her into a supply closet, his body pressed against hers in the darkness. She could feel his heart beating against her back, smell his cologne, cedar and something darker. Footsteps passed. Voices. They waited in silence, breathing synchronized, until the danger passed. Okay, Ji-hoon whispered against her ear, his breath warm on her neck. Let's go. But Maya didn't move. She turned in the small space, finding his face inches from hers, and saw something in his eyes that made her breath catch. Want. Need. Restraint. Maya, thank you, she whispered. For everything. His hand came up, fingers grazing her cheek so gently it hurt. Don't thank me yet. This isn't over. But the way he looked at her said something had already begun. The attack came on a Tuesday morning while Maya was walking to the corner store. A van screeched to a stop beside her, doors flying open, hands grabbing for her arms. She screamed. Gunshots cracked the air. The hands released her as the van peeled away, leaving burnt rubber and terror in its wake. Ji-hoon appeared from nowhere, his gun still raised, his face a mask of fury. Inside, now, The safe house went into lockdown. Armed guards, cameras, bulletproof windows. Brennan knows you have the files, Ji-hoon said, pacing like a caged wolf. He's escalating. How did he find me? Someone talked. Ji-hoon's jaw clenched. Someone in my organization. The thought of a traitor made Maya's skin crawl. That night, Ji-hoon's phone rang at 3 a.m. Maya heard him answer in Korean, heard his voice rise, heard something break. She found him in the living room, his hand bleeding, glass shattered on the floor. What happened? My cousin. He's been feeding information to Brennan's Italian connections. For money. Ji-hoon's voice was dead. Family? I trusted him with everything. Maya knelt beside him, taking his bleeding hand. Let me... Don't. But he didn't pull away. She cleaned the cuts with gentle precision, wrapping gauze around his palm while he sat rigid and silent. My sister trusted people too easily, he said finally. She thought everyone was good, thought the orphanage director would use the donation money properly. She died believing in people's goodness. And you stopped believing? I learned to verify. He looked at her, his eyes raw. But you warned a stranger about a switched contract, risked everything for people you'd never meet. Why? Because it was right. Right gets you killed in my world. Then maybe your world needs more people who choose right anyway. He stared at her for a long moment, something cracking in his expression. Then his phone buzzed. The message made him go pale. What? Maya demanded. They have Min Jun. Brennan's people grabbed him an hour ago. They want to trade. Him for the files. Then we give them the files. The files are the only thing keeping you alive. The moment Brennan has them, you're a loose end. So what do we do? Ji-hoon's smile was sharp as broken glass. We give him a show. The next 48 hours were a blur of preparation. Ji-hoon coordinating with federal prosecutors, planting false information, setting elaborate traps. The exchange is tomorrow night, he told Maya. Pier 47. Brennan will bring Min Jun. I'll bring the files. And me. You stay here where it's safe. No. Maya stood, meeting his eyes. I'm the witness. I'm coming. Absolutely not. If something goes wrong, then I face it, just like you're facing it. Just like you've been protecting me. She stepped closer. I won't hide while you risk everything. His control finally cracked. You don't understand what these men are capable of. I understand you've been alone with this for 3 years. I understand you blame yourself for your sister. I understand you think you have to save everyone by yourself. Maya, let me help you carry this. Please. He closed his eyes, his jaw working, every muscle taut with the effort of not breaking. When he opened them again, the look he gave her held galaxies of pain and something else, something tender and fierce and utterly terrifying. If anything happens to you, he said softly, I won't survive it. The confession hung between them, raw and real. Maya took his face in her hands, her thumbs tracing his cheekbones. Then we'll both survive. Together. He kissed her then, desperate, gentle, full of everything he couldn't say. And Maya kissed him back, tasting fear and hope and the beginning of something neither of them had planned. Tomorrow they would face David Brennan. Tonight, they held each other in the darkness and pretended the world couldn't reach them. Ji-hoon's plan was surgical in its precision and suicidal in its risk. The FBI has been investigating Brennan for 18 months, he explained, documents spread across the table. But they can't move without concrete evidence. The files you copied, combined with your testimony, that's their case. So we turn everything over to them, Maya said. Not quite. Ji-hoon's expression was grim. Brennan has connections inside the Bureau. If we go through official channels, the evidence disappears and you become a target the FBI can't protect. Then what? We force Brennan into a confession. Wire you, record him admitting to the fraud in Rothstein's murder, then hand everything, files, testimony, recording, to the one federal prosecutor I trust. Maya's stomach twisted. You want me to wear a wire and confront a murderer? I want you safe in Zurich with a new identity. But you won't go. His eyes held hers. So yes, I want you to be the bravest person in this room while I watch from 50 feet away, unable to protect you if things go wrong. You'll be there. Every second. With 12 armed men and a plan to extract you at the first sign of trouble. Min Jun, Recently freed in a midnight raid Ji-hoon had personally led, leaned against the wall, his face bruised but his eyes sharp. Brennan's Italian contacts. The Rossini family. They're pressuring him, Min-jun said. He promised them a cut of the foundation money. They're getting impatient. Good, Ji-hoon said. Desperate men make mistakes. But the real complication came from an unexpected source. Ji-hoon's organization, the Gyeongyang faction, held territory from Flushing to Fort Lee. His position as heir apparent came with expectations, traditions, codes, and falling for an outsider, protecting a witness who could expose their operations, sacrificing resources for personal vendetta. All of it violated those codes. The council called a meeting. Min-jun said quietly, "They're questioning your leadership." Ji-hoon's face went blank. When? Tonight, they want you to choose, the organization or her. Maya felt the floor drop from beneath her. What does that mean? It means they'll force me out if I don't give you up, cut me off from resources, connections, protection, make me an exile. Then give me up. The words tore out of her. Ji-hoon, you can't lose everything for what? Justice? Protecting someone who trusted me. Keeping a promise to my dead sister. His voice was steel. I've spent 7 years building power so I'd never be helpless again. If I can't use that power to do something right, what's the point? The point is survival. The point is you, he said quietly, stepping close enough that she had to tilt her head to meet his eyes. The point has always been you, from the moment you risked your life to warn me about that contract. You reminded me why I started this, what my sister would have wanted. She would have wanted you safe. She would have wanted me to be someone worth remembering. He cupped her face, his thumb brushing her cheekbone. I'm choosing you, Maya. The council can go to hell. That night, Ji-hoon walked into the meeting alone. Maya waited in the safe house, her mother asleep in the next room, while minutes stretched into hours. He returned at 2 m, his knuckles bruised, his shirt torn, but his eyes clear. I'm out, he said simply. Effective immediately. They've given me 48 hours to transfer territory and cut ties. Maya's chest cracked open. No, we can fix this. It's done, and it's right. He smiled, and it was the first genuine smile she'd seen from him. But I'm free, Maya. For the first time in 15 years, I'm free. But everything you built, I built a cage. Now I'm walking out of it. He took her hands. The FBI deal still stands. Min-jun's staying to run things. He'll keep my people safe, and I'm going to help you finish this. Then what? After Brennan's arrested and the trial's over, and then I start over. We start over. His voice dropped. If you want to. Maya's answer was a kiss, fierce and salt-tasting and full of promise. The next morning, they prepared for the final confrontation. The wire was thin as thread, taped to Maya's ribs beneath her shirt. The FBI team positioned themselves around Pier 47. Ji-hoon's remaining loyal men, the ones who chose him over the organization, waited in the shadows. You remember the code word? Ji-hoon asked, checking her wire for the third time. Why, mercy. If I say it, you come in. If you even think you need me, I'll say it. She caught his hands, stilling their nervous movement. Ji-hoon, breathe. He exhaled slowly, his forehead dropping to rest against hers. I've faced down rival gangs, corrupt politicians, FBI raids. Nothing has ever scared me like this. I know. If he hurts you, he won't, because you taught me how to be strong. You showed me I'm worth protecting. She kissed him gently. Now let me finish this. At 11 p.m., Maya walked onto Pier 47 alone, the water black and endless beside her, Brennan's shadow waiting at the far end. Behind her, 50 feet back, Ji-hoon watched through binoculars, every muscle coiled with readiness, his heart in his throat. This was it. The moment that would save them or destroy them. And Maya walked forward anyway, choosing courage over fear, truth over safety, love over survival. David Brennan looked smaller than Maya remembered, a middle-aged man in an expensive suit, his hairline receding, his face soft with privilege and excess, but his eyes were dead, cold, calculating, empty of anything resembling conscience. Miss Johnson. His smile was poison wrapped in civility. You've caused me considerable trouble. Maya's heart hammered against her ribs, but she kept her voice steady, You killed your partner. You stole from orphans. You destroyed lives. She took a breath. I'd say you caused your own trouble. Bold words for a woman standing alone on a pier at midnight. Brennan stepped closer, his expensive shoes clicking against the concrete. Oh, where are the files? Where you'll never find them. Then why are you here? To give you one chance to do the right thing. Confess, return the money, turn yourself in. Brennan laughed, a brittle, humorless sound that echoed across the water. And what? Spend my life in prison? For what? Redistributing charity funds that were going to waste anyway. Those children needed that money. Those children are foreign orphans who'll never amount to anything. His lip curled with contempt. Korean street rats who'd be better off dead than draining resources from people who actually matter. I had plans, projects, investments that would have generated real value. He caught himself, realizing he was revealing too much. Doesn't matter now. You've ruined everything. Maya felt rage burn through her fear. I saw you threaten Thomas Rothstein. I know you killed him. I know you made it look like suicide. Prove it. I can. I will. In court. Under oath. In front of a jury. Brennan's expression shifted, calculation replacing arrogance. Or you could take a very generous payment and forget everything you saw. $500,000, Miss Johnson, cash, untraceable. Enough to take care of your mother for the rest of her life. I'm not for sale. Everyone's for sale. His voice dropped. Dangerous now. You just haven't seen your price yet. He pulled out his phone, showing her a photo, her mother, asleep in the safe house, surrounded by medical equipment. Maya's blood went cold. Nice facility, Brennan continued conversationally. Expensive equipment, 24-hour nursing care. Shame if something happened to it. Shame if those nurses stopped showing up. Shame if the dialysis machine malfunctioned during treatment. You can't reach her. But Maya's voice wavered. Can't I? My Italian friends, the Rossini family, have very long arms, very creative solutions to problems. He smiled, showing too many teeth. They're very interested in making sure this situation goes away, permanently. And they don't care about collateral damage. Behind the shipping containers, Ji-hoon tensed, his hand moving to his gun, every instinct screaming to intervene. But he forced himself to wait, to trust Maya, to let her finish this. Maya stood on that pier, wind whipping her hair, water black and endless beside her, and felt something fundamental shift inside her chest. I spent 3 years running from an abusive ex-boyfriend, she said quietly, each word deliberate. 3 years afraid. 3 years looking over my shoulder. 3 years believing I deserved the pain because I wasn't strong enough, wasn't smart enough, wasn't worth protecting. Touching, but irrelevant. Then I met someone who showed me I was wrong. Her voice grew stronger. Someone who proved I was worth protecting, worth saving, worth fighting for. Someone who sacrificed everything, his power, his position, his entire organization, just to keep me safe. Brennan's eyes narrowed. The Korean. Park. We know about him. Then you know what he's capable of. You know what happens to people who threaten what he loves. He's nothing now. An exile. No organization, no power, no... He has me. Maya stepped closer, fear transforming into fury. And I have the truth. And together, we're going to destroy you. You stupid bitch. I'm not stupid. I'm a witness. And everything you just said... She pulled her collar aside, showing the wire taped to her ribs. The FBI's recording every word. The color drained from Brennan's face. For 3 seconds, the world stopped. Then everything exploded into motion. Brennan lunged, his hand going to his waistband, pulling a gun Maya hadn't known he carried. Ji-hoon was faster. He exploded from behind the containers, covering 30 feet in heartbeats, his body a weapon forged from years of survival and violence. He slammed into Brennan before the gun could rise, driving him sideways, both men crashing to the concrete in a tangle of limbs. The gun skittered across the pier, spinning toward the edge. Maya scrambled backward, her breath coming in gasps, as men in FBI jackets swarmed from all sides like a dark tide. FBI, don't move! Hands where we can see them! Ji-hoon rolled off Brennan immediately, hands raised, every movement slow and deliberate and non-threatening. Agents tackled Brennan, driving him face-first into the concrete, zip ties cutting into his wrists as he screamed, "I want my lawyer! This is entrapment! That recording is illegal! You have no right—" "The recording is perfectly legal." A woman's voice cut through the chaos like a blade. "Yaz is the warrant for your arrest on charges of wire fraud, money laundering, racketeering, and first-degree murder in the death of Thomas Rothstein." Special Agent Catherine Morrison stepped into the light, her badge gleaming, her expression carved from stone. She was 45, gray streaking her dark hair, her face lined with the weight of 2 decades fighting corruption. "Mr. Brennan, you're done. And so are your Italian friends. We've had surveillance on the Rossini family for 6 months. Your phone calls to them, also recorded. Congratulations. You just gave us everything we needed." They hauled Brennan to his feet, his expensive suit torn, his face bleeding where it had hit concrete. "You can't do this. I have connections. Judges, politicians. You have no idea who you're—" "Actually, we have a very detailed idea. Those connections. We've been investigating them too." Morrison's smile was sharp as broken glass. "You're going to spend the rest of your life in federal prison, Mr. Brennan, and every dollar you stole is going back to those orphanages in Seoul." As they dragged him toward the waiting vehicles, Brennan's eyes found Maya one last time. Pure hatred burned there, and something else. Recognition. The understanding that he'd been beaten by someone he'd considered beneath notice. A cleaning woman, an immigrant, a single black mother with no power and no voice. Except she'd found her voice, and it had destroyed him. The vehicles disappeared into the night, sirens wailing, leaving an eerie silence in their wake. Maya stood frozen, her entire body shaking, shock finally setting in. Agent Morrison approached, her expression softening slightly. "Miss Johnson, you did exceptionally well. Brave doesn't begin to cover it. Is it really over? The arrest is just the beginning. We'll need your full testimony for trial. You'll be under federal protection until it's done. Could be 6 months, could be a year." She glanced at Ji-hoon, who stood 30 feet away, still being watched by 2 agents. "Mr. Park, your cooperation has been noted. The charges against your former organization stand, but you, personally, are clear of federal prosecution. Thank you, Agent Morrison. Don't thank me, thank her." Morrison nodded at Maya. "She's the one who made this possible. The files, the testimony, the recording, all her." Then the FBI was gone, their vehicles disappearing into the Brooklyn night, leaving Maya and Ji-hoon alone on the pier. For a long moment, neither spoke. The water lapped against the pilings. The city glowed in the distance. The wind carried the smell of salt and distant rain. Then Maya's knees gave out. Ji-hoon caught her before she hit the ground, pulling her against his chest, his arms iron-strong and trembling. "It's over," he whispered into her hair, his voice breaking. "You're safe. It's finally over. I thought he was going to shoot me. I wouldn't have let him. I would have died first. Ji-hoon." I was so scared. His arms tightened. "Watching you stand there, facing him alone, knowing I couldn't help you unless things went wrong, I've never been so terrified in my life." Maya pulled back enough to see his face. Tears streaked his cheeks, the first time she'd ever seen him cry. "But you were magnificent," he continued, his hands framing her face. "So brave, so strong. You stood up to a murderer and made him confess. You did what I couldn't do in 3 years of investigation. I couldn't have done it without you, without knowing you were there, without— I love you." The words tumbled out, raw and desperate. "I love you so much it terrifies me. I love you more than power, more than reputation, more than the organization I spent 15 years building. You're not a sacrifice, Maya. You're the point. The reason. The answer to every question I've been asking since my sister died." What question? How do I become someone she'd be proud of? How do I use all this power and violence and darkness for something good? He pressed his forehead to hers. "You showed me. You trusted me when you had no reason to. You saw past the monster everyone else sees. You made me want to be better." Maya's tears finally came, hot and relieving and clean. "Or she would be so proud of you," she whispered. "Your sister, she'd see what you built, what you sacrificed, how many people you saved by taking down Brennan. We saved them, together." "I love you too," Maya said, the words feeling both terrifying and inevitable. I love you for protecting me, for believing I was worth saving, for giving up everything just to keep me safe. Ji-hoon kissed her then, under the stars, with the water lapping at the pier and the city glowing behind them. A kiss that tasted like freedom and promise, and the beginning of everything. What happens now? Maya asked when they finally broke apart. Now. Ji-hoon's smile was soft, real, unguarded in a way she'd never seen. Now we take your mother to every specialist she needs. We find you a real apartment, not a safe house. We figure out who we are without all the danger and secrets. And your organization? Minjun's running it now. He'll keep my people safe, keep the territory stable. I signed everything over before we came here. He brushed a strand of hair from her face. I'm free, Maya. For the first time since I was 20 years old, I'm completely free. To do what? To be with you. To build something clean. To start the foundation I've been planning, the one for orphans in Seoul and immigrant children here. To wake up every morning and not wonder who I'll have to hurt that day. His thumb traced her cheekbone. To deserve you. You already deserve me. Then to keep deserving you. Every day. For the rest of our lives. Maya kissed him again. Softer this time. Full of promise and possibility. Around them, the city continued its endless rhythm. But for two people on a pier in Brooklyn, a former mafia boss and a cleaning woman who'd refused to stay silent, the future finally felt like something worth believing in. 5 years later, Maya stood in the lobby of Fresh Start Professional Services, watching the morning sun stream through floor-to-ceiling windows, and marveled at the impossible distance between who she'd been and who she'd become. The commercial cleaning company occupied 3 floors in downtown Brooklyn, 180 employees, contracts with 30 major buildings, partnerships with immigrant job training programs that helped people like her had been desperate, undocumented, invisible. Her office was on the top floor, modest but comfortable, with hardwood floors and plants that somehow stayed alive despite her sporadic attention. One entire wall was covered in photos, a gallery of joy and survival. Her mother, healthy and smiling, at her 66th birthday party last month, surrounded by church friends and neighbors, her skin glowing with the health that came from consistent medical care and no longer worrying about money. Ji-hoon at the grand opening 3 years ago, cutting a ribbon with oversized scissors. His smile private and meant only for her, his eyes holding the kind of peace she'd once thought impossible for a man like him. Their wedding, small, intimate, at the church her grandmother had taken her to as a child, with her mother crying in the front row and Min-jun standing as Ji-hoon's best man, the entire ceremony a testament to redemption and unlikely grace. And the newest photo, added just last week, their daughter, 3 years old, her dark curls bouncing as Ji-hoon pushed her on a swing, her mixed heritage beautiful in her round face and bright eyes that saw a world full of wonder instead of danger. Mama! A small voice echoed through the office, followed by the rapid patter of small feet. Maya turned just in time to catch her daughter as she launched herself forward, all enthusiasm and boundless energy. Ji-hoon followed more slowly, carrying a backpack shaped like a butterfly and wearing the expression of a man who'd found something he'd stopped believing existed: contentment. Someone wanted to surprise you at work, he said, leaning down to kiss Maya's cheek. The gesture so natural and easy it still sometimes took her breath away. 5 years, and she still marveled that this was real, that she could kiss him in daylight, that they had a daughter, that the danger had finally, truly ended. I helped Daddy at the center this morning, their daughter announced proudly, her voice carrying her father's precision and her mother's warmth. The center was Ji-hoon's current project, the Seoul Brooklyn Children's Foundation, a fully funded nonprofit that provided education, healthcare, housing support, and advocacy for orphans in Korea and immigrant children in New York. It occupied a renovated warehouse in Sunset Park, with classrooms, a medical clinic, a cafeteria that served free meals, and a staff of 47 dedicated workers. Ji-hoon had named it after his sister, Ji-min. Her photo hung in the main entrance, a teenage girl with a bright smile and hopeful eyes, frozen forever at 16, but finally honored and remembered the way she deserved. Did you help? Maya knelt, pulling her daughter close, breathing in the scent of children's shampoo and strawberry toothpaste. What did you do? We read stories to the little kids, and I showed everyone my drawing of our family. She wriggled free, pulling a crumpled paper from her backpack. See? That's you and Daddy and me and Grandma and Uncle Minjun. The stick figures were barely recognizable, but the love in every crayon stroke was undeniable. It's beautiful, baby. Should we hang it in my office? Yes, right next to the photo wall. Jihoon had changed in 5 years, transformed in ways Maya still discovered daily. The sharp edges had softened. The constant vigilance had eased. The weight he'd carried, guilt over his sister, responsibility for his organization, the violence necessary to survive in his world, had finally lifted. He smiled more now, laughed at their daughter's jokes, slept through the night without nightmares. He'd testified against 15 corrupt officials during the trials that followed Brennan's arrest. He'd helped the FBI dismantle 3 human trafficking rings operating between Seoul and New York. He'd used every connection from his old life to build something new, something clean. The foundation was his redemption project, funded entirely by his own money, the legitimate wealth he'd accumulated through careful investments and the sale of his territories to Minjun. Your mother called, Jihoon told Maya quietly, setting their daughter down to explore the office. Wants to know if we're still coming for Sunday dinner? Wouldn't miss it. She's making her pot roast. She always makes pot roast. Because she knows you love it. Jihoon smiled. That soft, private smile that belonged only to her. Your mother treats me better than my own family ever did. It was true. Maya's mother lived in a small house in Queens now. Her medical bills paid in full. Her health stable thanks to a kidney transplant 2 years ago that Jihoon had quietly funded and expedited. She attended church 3 times a week, hosted weekly prayer groups, and treated Jihoon like the son she'd never had, with fierce love and gentle correction when he needed it. You gave me my daughter back, she'd told him once, shortly after the wedding. You gave her a life, a family, safety. How do I ever thank you for that? You already did. He'd answered, his voice thick. You raised someone worth saving. Someone who saw past what I was and believed I could be better. Now, watching him play with their daughter, building a tower of blocks that she gleefully knocked down, Maya felt overwhelming gratitude for the mistake that had become destiny. That night 5 years ago, she'd whispered a warning to a stranger about a switched contract. Such a small thing, such an impossible risk. She'd lost her cleaning job at the law firm, lost her anonymity, lost any sense of safety she'd carefully constructed. But she'd gained everything that mattered. A partner who saw her worth before she saw it herself. A love built on trust and sacrifice and choosing each other daily. A family that defied every odd and exceeded every hope. A business that gave other women like her a chance at dignity and independence. And a purpose that felt holy in its simplicity. To help people who needed help, the way she'd been helped when she needed it most. Jihoon caught her staring and raised an eyebrow. That familiar gesture that still made her heart skip. What? Just thinking about that night? The contract? How terrified I was. I was terrified too, he admitted, moving closer, their daughter now absorbed in building a new tower. From the moment I saw you on that security footage, running scared, risking everything to warn me, I knew you were going to change my life. For better or worse? For everything. He pulled her close, his arms warm and solid and safe. You showed me there's always a choice. Even when it feels like there isn't. Even when every option seems impossible. Even when the cost is everything you've built. And was it worth it? Maya asked, though she knew the answer, needed to hear him say it anyway. Jihoon looked around, at the successful business Maya had built from nothing, giving jobs to 180 people who desperately needed them. At the foundation that bore his sister's name, serving 400 children every month. At their daughter, safe and loved and growing up in a world where her parents' past didn't define her future. At Maya herself, no longer the terrified woman cleaning offices at midnight, but a business owner, a wife, a mother, someone who'd survived and thrived and transformed her trauma into triumph. Every second, he said, his voice rough with emotion. Every sacrifice, every fear, every moment of uncertainty. It was all worth it for this, for you, for the family we built, for the chance to be someone Jimin would be proud of. Maya kissed him, long and sweet and full of promise, while their daughter made crashing sounds with her block tower. She would be so proud, Maya whispered against his lips. Not just of the foundation or the lives you've saved, but of who you became, the father you are, the husband, the man who chose love over power. I chose you. It was always going to be you. That night, after dinner at her mother's house, pot roast and laughter, and her mother's gentle teasing about when they'd give her more grandchildren, Maya and Jihoon drove home through Brooklyn. Their daughter slept in her car seat, exhausted from a day of play. The city lights painted everything in gold and shadow. Do you ever miss it? Maya asked quietly. The power? The organization? Being someone everyone feared. Jihoon was quiet for a long moment, navigating familiar streets, his hand warm on her knee. Sometimes, he admitted, not the violence or the danger, but the certainty, knowing exactly who I was and what I was capable of, having that kind of control. And now I have something better. Something my sister would have wanted for me. He glanced at her, his eyes soft in the dashboard light. And I have a daughter who thinks I'm a superhero because I can reach the high shelves. A wife who believes I'm worth loving even when I don't believe it myself. A purpose that doesn't require hurting people. Min Jun says the organization's stable. That everyone respects what you did. Min Jun's kind. But yes, walking away instead of fighting for power, choosing family over territory, apparently that's the kind of honor the old ways actually valued. He smiled wryly. Who knew? They pulled into their driveway, a modest house in Park Slope, with a small yard and neighbors who knew them as that nice couple who run the Children's Foundation. Normal, peaceful, safe. Jihoon carried their sleeping daughter inside while Maya locked the car, and she watched him move through their home. This man who'd once commanded an empire, now carefully navigating a hallway cluttered with toys. Later, after their daughter was tucked in bed, after the evening routine of stories and prayers and whispered, I love yous, Maya and Jihoon sat on their back porch under the stars. Tell me again, she said softly, about the night we met. He knew what she meant. He'd told this story before, would tell it 1,000 more times, because they both needed the reminder of how far they'd come. I was in that office at midnight reviewing contracts, he began, his voice taking on the cadence of ritual, looking for evidence of the fraud that killed my sister. And then I saw you on the security feed, running for your life because you'd witnessed something you shouldn't have. And you called me. I called you. And you came to that rooftop even though every instinct told you not to. You stood there in the cold, terrified but brave, and you made me want to be someone worthy of that bravery. I thought you were going to kill me. I thought I was going to fail you, like I failed Jimin. His hand found hers. But you didn't let me fail. You fought beside me. You faced down a murderer. You chose truth over safety, over and over again. We saved each other, Maya said simply. Yes, we did. They sat in comfortable silence, watching the city lights blur against the darkness, until Maya spoke again. If you could go back, knowing everything that would happen, all the danger and fear and sacrifice, would you still make that call? Jihoon turned to her, his expression fierce and tender and absolutely certain. Every time, in every lifetime, I would find you and protect you and love you in every version of this story. Maya's tears came then. Happy tears, grateful tears, the kind that came from being seen and chosen and cherished. Then I guess that contract really was switched for a reason? Divine intervention? Or just the universe making sure we found each other? Jihoon kissed her forehead, her cheeks, her lips, gentle and reverent and full of promise. Outside, the city moved on, endless and indifferent. But inside their small house in Park Slope, two people who'd survived impossible odds held each other close and marveled at the beautiful, ordinary, miraculous life they'd built. A life that proved redemption was real, that love could survive darkness, that mistakes could become destiny, and that sometimes, when you choose courage over fear, truth over silence, and love over survival, the universe conspires to give you everything you never knew you needed. If you made it to the end of this story, let us know in the comments which city you're watching from. And click the yellow bell to subscribe to the channel and support us. Keep the adventure going by clicking on the suggested video on your screen.